You guys can't hear the AC, can you?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I got hot too, man. I'm just sweating balls in here.
Yeah, I had the AC on up until the session, and I turned it off right beforehand. And I by the end I was like leaning up against these pillows, sweating against the pillows. It's
real close to losing the shirt. Your numbers will go way up. It's like 1,000 degrees in Texas right now, also. So it's
is it
dog days of summer?
Yeah,
earlier than usual. It's mid-June, not even mid-June yet.
I'm getting out of South Dakota just in time. It was like 70 to 75 the entire time I was here. Tomorrow was like 89.
Oh.
I'm like, all right, great.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Frostside Chat, our weekly live stream post-session discussion. We talk about what just happened during D&D. This is the chat for session 49. Do not watch that session yet, Jason. Please go do that now because there will be spoilers. I am your DM, Eric, and joining me we have All Robin's player, Chris.
Hello. I was curious about what spoilers you're talking about. Let's look in the chat.
And Edmund's player, Raymond.
Hello.
He was specifically saying that he doesn't get a chance to watch the live show because of timing. And then when he comes and watches the chat afterwards, I'm like, what? The spoilers.
The commentary after you're watching
the behind the scenes.
The content. Yeah.
But yeah, and Heather's kind of the same way. She actually doesn't mind spoiler stuff at all. But yeah, most folks, I think.
Yeah.
So we could talk about the puzzle, obviously, but what's funny is, we had kind of completed the fight last week, and yet we didn't because we had that little bit of a coda at the end with the Earth Elemental going crazy. And when I was planning on it... Oh, did we lose Chris again?
Nope, I'm here. Okay,
when I was literally looking at it saying, okay, what's going to happen? I thought, okay, there's like a 90% chance that Raymond is going to use his Shardolin Ball on the Earth Elemental and basically just shut it down in the first round. And then there was talk of like, well, the Earth Elemental's got that cool ability where it can move through rock, and is the Shardolin band not just rock, so could I just move through it? And we were kind of discussing this a little bit in the chats. But ultimately I was like, all right, well, we still got to hit the thing, which you might have a chance not to be able to. Might not be able to get Chris's video back. Apologize about the webcams. Apparently his computer has decided to give him, which thankfully he had stable connection throughout the session, but apparently now it is wrapping the bed. He had to first hit it, which, Earth Elemental's got a pretty good AC. I don't know what your to hit with that thing is, Ray.
I think it's 21.
No, what is your modifier? Like, what is your chance to hit it normally?
Oh,
Offhand.
Because I still have. Oh, I have it right here.
It's like
plus 6.
Plus 6.
Yeah.
All right, so you had a pretty good chance of hitting it. And even if you do, and then you have to make the choice of like, well, do I still attack with disadvantage or do I try to break out of it? Because unfortunately, it takes a whole action to break out. So like, even though he's got a pretty good chance of breaking out, I don't know if I want to spend my action doing that. So I kind of split the difference. I like, well, if there's anybody in range, he'll attack him, and I want to really make the fun thing of like, he's really pissed at Thimbleweed specifically for summoning it. So Thimbleweed was still close by, so I got to attack Thimbleweed, and then the next round he broke out, and then I thought, okay, well, he's he got down to 10 hit points, and because I broke out of it, that was his whole turn, and I thought, all right, well, let's use that movement ability. Or he had 18 hit points, and then he moved, and he took the reaction hit and got down to 10 hit points before he moved underground. So I just thought it'd be fun where, okay, he's going to go underground, and then, a round will go by, the players don't know what to do or how to, handle that. And then he's going to pop out, and really, I'm going to try to punch down Thimbleweed. And then that's, even if I get Thimbleweed down, he's only got 10 hit points. Like, this thing's going down. But I thought it was a final, climax. And then, of course, Frey just upended the entire thing by going... like, well, I'm going to use my ability check just to try to find him, which I'm even thinking, there's no way you're going to find this guy burrowing in. Like, best case, if she had the dynamite, it'd be funny, but best case scenario, you can locate him, but he's going to be down in the ground. You're not going to be able to even really get to him.
Right.
So it was almost a meaningless roll, but I'm not going to tell her that. And then the fact that she used her dice and rolled a 1 was just, holy shit. Which
that's not actually... I mean, granted, at this point, I feel like we're kind of out leveled the danger of the Wendigo. Like,
I am wondering if I need to scale it up, honestly.
But I feel like 1 out of 6 is not that crazy of a roll.
Yeah.
For that bad of a result. She
uses them quite a bit now too.
Yeah, for it to be something that could like literally happen in the middle of battle, and for it to be a 1 in 6 chance that like she's gonna turn into an enemy. Now, granted, what I don't know, we've never had this situation before. If she were to turn into a Wendigo while we had other enemies on the field, would she attack indiscriminately? I don't know.
It's kind of up to both of us to decide that, but I think the idea I had for it is it would generally, if it really has, and we kind of did it with a fun, like, oh, it could attack anybody, but I was thinking almost it would try to kill like a living creature that was like maybe the weakest or something. Like it would literally be like that kind of a predator.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also want to have her fun with it and let her kind of control it too. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I haven't thought of if I need to really scale it yet. But like you said, it's the danger is almost you took out a PC and replaced that with an enemy, which is a big deal. It just happens in this case. It was funny because otherwise, like nothing would have happened for that round.
Yes.
So it kind of gleefully filled like that spot of what players need to do.
Absolutely.
It's a shame that we haven't really seen the Wendigo. Like 2 times it's appeared, and both times it hasn't even, I think, landed a hit yet, because you guys are actually, this party is really good at debuffing and locking things down.
Yeah.
Not necessarily doing a lot of damage, although you can do decent damage. Thimbleweed actually, both Thimbleweed and Celeste, I think, did a good amount of damage to it.
Yes. Yeah.
But man, you and Edmund alone can do all kinds of lockdown abilities, and that becomes really useful when you're fighting like one creature that doesn't have a ranged attack that you can tell.
Yeah, I mean, our party has strengths and weaknesses for sure, but like one single enemy that is melee focused is definitely one of our strengths.
Yeah.
We can shut them down so they can do nothing pretty easily.
Yeah.
With a variety of things.
So if I were to upgrade it and scale it up, it would be maybe increase the stats a little bit just to keep up with you guys. But more importantly, it unlocks just a ranged attack, just for those circumstances.
A ranged attack, yes, that's what I was thinking. It's like if she had a range attack, that would change the dynamic quite a bit.
So that's something I would probably look at for changing, is maybe it evolves a little bit. As she grows in power, so too does the Wendigo. So could be interesting. But it was a fun to see that appearance again. I realized I should start keeping track of that stat of how many times she goes.
It's only the second time, right?
Only the second time, yeah.
Yeah.
But both times have been during combat situations that were pretty long, big combat fights, which you'd think would make it really. It was really dangerous at first, but then you guys were able to kind of gang up and shut down the threat pretty quickly. Although she had a chance to down Thimbleweed and just missed with both attacks, and then Earth Elemental appeared and had a chance to down Thimbleweed. He had like 10 hit points at the time or something.
That was pretty funny.
And missed with both attacks. I was like devastated about that. Like,
it's not even like the odds were against him or even. The odds were in the enemy's favor.
Yes, both times, absolutely.
It was like literally all they had to do was get a better than 50% chance. Like that's like, and they had better than 50% chance, but they just got in their
multi-attack. Wow.
Yeah, multi-attack too. Yep. Yeah, it was. It was a bit painful.
Luck.
Yeah.
The
dice were not with me on that one, but it was just funny that fight just kept lasting another, whatever it was, 30 or 45 minutes or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, all right, now we're getting to the part of the session that actually planned for this session, because I didn't really think about the Earth Elemental fight at all. I was like, whatever, you guys are going to shut it down and beat it up. It did have a lot of AC and HP, though, so it did last more rounds than I expected, because I assumed all the players would be beating up on it, and then one of the players became an enemy.
Yeah.
All right, so I redesigned, and I'm not going to take credit for this. Obviously, this is which I can pull it up on my window. You guys can't see it, but everybody else can see it. And I talked about this during the crafting stream. I replaced the puzzle that was here with one called Rune Puzzles. It is on the Roll20 Marketplace. The author is Paul Camp, and I basically used the puzzle as written, but it gives you, I believe, 30 different puzzles you can use using the same mechanic of puzzle. So it gives you a string of cryptic letters. You have to decipher the anagram, and then that gives you the thing, and then you have to use that object. And it just works so beautifully with this puzzle as written, because as written, this puzzle is each brazier has a single. There's another poem that involves like dragons and a mountain and an earth, and like an arrow and all this. And then each brazier has a rune on it. And as long as you speak Dwarvish or Giant, you could easily translate that rune. So each brazier, one is like, one translates to dragon, and one translates to war, and one is like death, one is mountain. And then when you go in the room of the chests, you only find the exact number of items for the braziers. It felt just incredibly stupidly easy to me. The only fun one is it straight up had the Fifth Element reference, where one of them is wind, and there's no wind in there. You're just supposed to blow on the brazier, which was cute. And that's my idea, was to use the snow thing, which I had to actually give you guys a hint about. So that was the puzzle as written. Is you walk in, there's a poem that literally says something about a dragon, something about mountains, something about the wind, and then but if you look at each brazier, it has the runes on the brazier. So as long as you can decipher those runes, and then each chest holds one item. It's like the dragon scale is in one, the arrow is in another one, the rock is in another one. Like that's it. So it just seems like really easy, other than having to figure out you have to blow on something, and then one of them you have to like spill your own blood, I guess, to do it.
Okay.
But then you just drop them in there, and boom, you're done.
Yeah.
And I was really racking my brain over like, all right, what can I do to make this puzzle more interesting, more dynamic? I thought about rewriting the poem. I thought about putting more items in the chest, which I did end up doing. So you at least have to figure out which one's the right items. And then I stumbled upon this thing in the Roll20 Marketplace as I was searching just, I think, for runes or rune letters or something. And that came up. It was like rune puzzles. And I was like, okay. And I read about it, and I was like, this is fucking great. And it includes a whole like little handout that you can, throw on a map and enlarge and biggen, and you can see the instructions for how the rune works. And I thought, holy shit, this is perfect, because each one of these, the solution is an object, and the way this puzzle is supposed to work as written is you find an object and put it on the thing.
Right.
So I basically picked, 6. I picked 5 of them. I designed the 6th one myself, but I picked 5 of the ones that are already written in here. So Ironclad is one of them, Fiddle Hut, Satin Orb. Those are all options out of the 30 that are included in this puzzle product.
Okay, yeah.
And then I made sure to include those items, and then also include a bunch of other items as pure red herrings, so you guys have to decide which ones are the appropriate ones. And then you get that one hint at the beginning, which I used to replace the poem as is, and that poem tells you, okay, there's objects in the dungeon, the puzzles are anagrams, and then I was worried at first because you guys were like really stumped about how to do this, and so I was like, all right, that door basically holds the you can open the door and go inside.
Yeah, that's where I was stuck in the beginning.
Yeah, there's originally some confusion.
There's got to be at least some kind of key in the beginning. You can't you wouldn't just give us a bunch of rune phrases and be like, hey, decipher this based on what Heather was saying, the commonality of
and
English
that
words.
is a little nerve-wracking when I realized, like, okay, and I really had to kind of nudge you guys over to that room, and then once you got in there and you realized, okay, there's chests in here, there's keys, we can start opening it, and I wrote it down where you find the objects first, and then the last thing you find finally is the thing you're looking for, which are the hint. And the cool thing is, the way this puzzle's designed is that it writes down which hints are required to solve each puzzle. So the way I did it is to say, okay, I will use the simpler ones, and I'm only going to give you 3 puzzle hints at the beginning, and all 3 of those will allow you to solve one puzzle, which is the first one, which is had her rat. You'll know all those letters based on the other 3. You guys went above and beyond, which is why I kept saying, do you guys have guesses for the anagrams? Because I was worried. I was like, they're going to get fucking stuck on this first part of the puzzle. They're supposed to be solving each brazier individually. Instead, you're trying to solve all of them at once. And, I mean, you had no idea you were going to get more hints, but that was the idea, is once you solve... Yeah. So I designed it specifically so each one requires another hint specifically so you can confirm that missing letter. But you guys were able to very quickly figure out, oh, well, here's the missing letter, here's the missing letter. Until you got to the last one, because the last one required 2 or 3 additional hints that you guys didn't have at the time. So you're missing too many letters.
Yeah.
So I actually designed it perfectly to where you would you had to do 1, and then you could do, I think, 3, and then 2, and then with those 3 extra hints, you could then do 4 and 5, and then with 4 and 5's hints, you could then do 6.
Yeah.
But you guys went above and beyond and were able to actually come up with most of them before you even started completing the anagram part of it, which that surprised me.
Figured it out. Yeah. Which most of that was Heather figuring out, like, okay, what's the missing, like, vowels?
Yeah.
We haven't used O yet, so it's got to be an O here, that kind of thing.
So I hadn't considered that you guys would be able to do that without the confirmation of those additional hints.
Yeah.
Like, for a moment, we kind of forgot about those items, too. We just got in the puzzle, and then we forgot there were items that would help.
Yeah. So that was
anagrams are not my jam. That word puzzles are not. I'm so glad Heather was here to sort of like take charge of it. And
I was impressed that there was some like hard work going on, because I'm kind of the same. So the one interesting clue that I had to really grab y'all by the horns on, which is why I finally, and it's interesting the way you want puzzle. You don't want to give those hints too quickly, right? You want players to breathe. You want them to figure out the puzzle. So you really gotta read the room, look at the time, see how long they've spent on a puzzle, and try to give it to them before they get to that frustrated part, but not too soon. So I was trying to do my best at that. And the first instance was the anagrams were just everywhere, and you didn't quite get the underline part, but you noticed the underline part. And
there are 2 ways to interpret the secret message that was in that thing, because Heather and I were going back and forth on how to interpret it in the beginning. I thought the underlined letter was the beginning of the word, so all the letters between it and the next underlined letter made up the word.
It just so happened that the first one.
That was true on the first one. So, like, on the first one, the first H was like, and then like hard, like there were 4 letters, and they spelled hard. That was the.
I guess it's called overthinking, maybe, when you.
Yeah, but then Heather was correct in that. No, it's just the letters. Just the letters. The only thing that matters.
But then
their actual position within the anagram doesn't matter.
She did screw one thing up, which was she had thought that the object was the first letter. I remember that, and that was scaring me, because I was like, "Oh shit, they're going off. This is totally wrong," and they're gonna fuck this up. Thankfully, I think Reese was the one that had the light bulb moment. He's like, "Oh no, this is the first letter of the correct anagram solution."
Yeah,
so it's hard earth, which was absolutely correct.
As soon as he did that first one, and I think it clicked with most
it was
of
off
us.
to the races.
Like,
yeah.
We get it now. Oh, okay.
So that was the investigation check I was calling for everybody,
and everybody failed.
And everybody failed. That's so funny. Everybody's rolling so bad.
Investigation. So using investigation, I've had this problem before too, where using investigation with puzzles is as a get jail free card.
Yeah, but like, what if they all fail the roll?
But what if they all fail? Well, it's.
Well, what I'm hoping is like, all right, you have to burn some abilities. Like, is it Flash of Genius? Is it Bardic Inspiration? Like, you guys have to have means of overcoming bad rolls.
Yeah.
Or Raymond summoning more creatures to try to figure out the puzzle.
To get more rolls.
Giant goat, I choose you. I was like, fuck it. Giant goat's gonna roll investigation.
What do you know about anagrams, Giant goat?
You got a -4, but it might be better. That was hilarious.
Yep.
Probably never before used a bag of summoning like that to try to summon creatures to help with a puzzle.
Yep.
So at that point in my mind, I was like, all right, just give me a fucking 10. Somebody give me a 10 would give me that. And I think Thimbleweed got it through whatever, I think it was his Bardic Inspiration. And then, which that was a cool part of the thing, is that you actually physically have to like look at the fucking poem and notice that there's a little bit of a hint rolled in there, and nobody noticed it at all.
Yeah.
And that's a very important clue, because that tells you, hey, you've been noticing some of these letters are underlined, and that is a big thing that helps you solve the correct anagram instead of having what was Raymond's called Beastie Bling or something like.
That's right.
Which is FB. That does fit, I think. But
yeah.
But that helps put you on the right track, and that was important. Yeah, that was a light bulb moment. And I think you guys went off on it was a domino effect after that. I think you guys got 3 or 4 in a row really quickly. The one that hung you up was Death Fluid, Empty Vial. I'm thinking, I just want to see what the players do. I'm going to give them an empty vial. They're going to figure out the word Death Fluid. What are they going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to let them put an empty vial on there, but are they going to put whatever, some random... are they going to put alcohol in there? Are they going to put their own blood in the vial?
Okay.
And I was kind of picturing, I probably let almost anything work.
Okay,
because you could probably argue, I just thought that was an interesting twist to the puzzle. Is like you're not literally going to find a vial of acid. Instead, you're going to find an empty vial, and you have to take the next step to actually try and figure out what is death fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really hoping somebody would just cut themselves and spray blood all over, and I was like, that works.
That's life fluid, though, isn't it?
It is life fluid, yeah. And we were going to a bunch of okay, what about water, like life water or something, and trying to come up with different things. But the one that I designed myself was Flying Beast for the dragon scale.
Oh, okay.
Because I just thought I want to make one.
And that one took us a while too, but one just took us a while to nail the anagram, which Reese eventually did.
It was interesting that one took the longest, yeah.
Anagrams are hard, man. I'm not good at that word, the letter stuff. That, I don't know. I have a hard time recognizing what letters I've already used in an anagram. Yeah. I'll get halfway through the anagram and be like, wait, I already used the I earlier. It's just...
You have to be able to write that shit down too. We were making fun of the fact you didn't have that, but you really do. It's at least with my brain, I can't do that either. I got to be able to make notes. But so the dragon scale, I just thought it'd be fun to use the dragon thing. And I honestly tried to use things that would kind of be appropriate to a frost giant stuff.
Sure, yeah.
There was some of the puzzles you can choose, the answer is soap and perfume and all that. And I'm like, I want to use stuff that would actually make sense for frost giants to have as solutions to their puzzles, but also that they would keep in these chests in this vault. So a bunch of, equipment and things.
Yeah.
When I came up with Feasty Bling,
we talked about it.
I was like, Bling is just not D&D.
Right.
Probably not.
Yeah. That's honestly not a problem, but something that I've bumped up against with all puzzles involving the English language is it's so modern that it's you're kind of not in fantasy world, because you're okay, now I'm taking the English letters and putting them into making English words.
Yeah.
Bling just happens to be very, very modern.
So yeah, this was completely from another. There was an existing puzzle. I wanted to modify it. I ended up stumbling on this awesome puzzle that exists as the way I got it is through the art gallery. So I literally unfortunately I had to manually make all the handouts, but it just exists as images.
Yeah.
But I thought it was really impressive from my point of view and helped solve a lot of my puzzle problems. And I thought, okay, this is probably going to be a session-long puzzle similar to the other one was with the cipher. And what I could tell, you guys enjoyed doing that. So, it was a shame. Reese mentioned it's a shame Rochelle wasn't here. I didn't know ahead of time, but I was like, man, this will be a fun, session, because I know her and Heather especially doing these puzzles.
The puzzles that involve, which honestly I is great for our dynamic, because I like the puzzles that appeal to me, and the ones that I kind of latch onto are the ones that don't involve writing, that are more like logistical puzzles. This is going to trigger this and this is going to trigger that. But the actual coding, like cipher puzzles, the ladies just they got that. It's fine. I'll let them write all that.
Although Reese was right there with her too. He was doing a good job. He was doing good work.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess. So what's y'all's opinion on this one? And again, I don't take. I modified and changed a few things around, but this was not my design.
I think it was good. Puzzles are just weird in general.
They're very hard to do in D&D.
They're always weird because there's always the question of when do you call it and just start giving people, because I mean, and here with word puzzles too, there's always going to be the necessary time where people are just quietly staring.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not fun for a YouTube, stream, but with any word puzzles, it's a necessary time function of just, you're gonna have to let people just stare at the words for 5 minutes,
that's a good point.
Silence.
That is a slight concern of mine, and certainly I don't do too many of these puzzles. I mean, I don't think I did anything like this in Tomb of Annihilation, for example, and we've already done 2 in this campaign, so I like it as a change of pace, but it does get awkward when people are just sitting there thinking. And again, that's that moment from my point of view. It's like, okay, do they look like they're sussing things out, or do they look like they're lost and bored? And to me, it was all the former. Like, it really does feel like you guys were engaged the whole time. You were interested. You were animated. So to me, I was like, all right, I'm going to let this play out. And then only when they start going off on these other tangents or, really start just repeating the same things do I then go like, okay, I need to point them to, I said the first hint was about the underlined letters. And then later, I forgot about the other one you guys got hung up on, was the cold rain.
Oh, yes.
What's funny is I think you actually figured it out earlier or something, and you were like, well, what item is that? It could be a dragon scale, be anything. And that was, to me, making the fun Fifth Element reference, where it's like, it's not one of those objects. It's actually something readily available to you. But unfortunately, nobody had that big aha moment. So I had to be like, all right, the goat starts going outside. And Reese picked it up immediately as soon as I mentioned the snow. As soon as I did, he's like, oh.
He picked it up as you were giving us a clue.
Yeah. So I had to get, that was the one where I had to get the slightest bit of nudge, because I could tell you guys were just kind of like, all right, we're gonna start brute forcing this. I'm like,
well, what you could tell is that we were never gonna get it. We were gonna stare at the items in the room forever, and we were never gonna look outside of that.
You guys were hung up on okay, which of these items, which is fair because they've all been the items, and that was the trick I was playing. Is one of these is not actually one of these items. The death fluid one was kind of a semi-trick, because it was like you knew the vial was involved, which I did try to telegraph that when you placed the empty vial. I was like, oh shit, I can't have it just reject the vial, because then they might get really confused. So instead it just kind of doesn't work, but also doesn't reject it fully.
Right. Which, I mean, I think I was in the right track pretty quickly, where I was like, does anybody just have any poison on them? Just, okay, it's asking for, some sort of fluid that causes death. We just didn't happen to have anything until...
And literally, if somebody put alcohol in it, I probably would have accepted that too. Yeah. It was just whatever kind of fun excuse for, a powerful, strong liquid or something probably would have worked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's basically, this place is not a dungeon. It's basically just
right.
But it's cool because it's it has kind of everything in this small 4-room area, because you had the giant fight, you had a little bit of a social thing at the beginning. In fact, I actually added a lot of the social stuff. It doesn't have much social stuff at all, and I added a bit at the beginning and then added a bit at the end. Then it has this big puzzle. It's got loot, so it checks all the boxes of a dungeon crawl without really being a big dungeon crawl. And in fairness, because I scaled up everything about this dungeon, I also very much scaled up the loot.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, as written, there's one magic item in here, and that's it. I was like, all right, we got to give him some good shit.
Yeah, we spent 2 sessions?
Yeah, it's only 2 sessions, but it will be 2+, because we're not done with
2+,
not done with this area yet. Yeah. Yeah, and the only bummer is the timing didn't work out, which I did mention in crafting. I was like, oh man, if this puzzle takes a long ass time, we may end the session at the beginning of this final fight, instead of having completed it and gone back, to town and get ready for the next adventure.
Yeah,
which gets a little awkward because, maybe this fight will take the whole session. I don't know, coming up, but I
doubt it. We're now. After embarrassing myself this entire session and being able to offering very little, although as James points out, I was getting a lot of the right answers through my just grabbing words at random out of the letters.
I thought you were doing pretty.
I just wasn't putting them together.
Jokes aside, yeah,
I was just grabbing, just whatever words.
Yeah.
But now we're in a social situation. Valravn will be able to really go back to his strengths.
The interesting thing is, this one really represents a final dungeon boss fight because you guys have finally been tested, resource-wise.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you haven't even short-rested since the arena fight, and that was by design because you guys were on a ticking clock.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, finally, this is gonna. Other than which, annoyingly, that troll regen is so powerful. It'll wear off after this adventuring day, but like, holy crap, she just the fact that and unfortunately, what I didn't realize when I designed the puzzle is I thought, okay, well, to keep him from brute forcing, it's going to damage them each time. Ray doesn't give a shit because she has auto regen.
How does that work with the fire, though?
I read it and it said it just makes it so it doesn't work for until the start of your next turn.
Oh.
So if you're not in combat, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, it doesn't technically regen for the next 6 seconds, and then you start regenning again. And if you're not in combat again, you know, after whatever 30 seconds, you're just fully healed again. So having a barbarian with troll regen is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
But the rest of you are in real bad shape. And
I'm not health wise. I'm not in bad shape.
Well,
but
that's true.
I don't have much.
I'd say spell slots. I think you're all getting pretty low.
I'm pretty low on spell slots. Yeah.
But who knows? You guys have obviously been kicking my ass quite a while, so I haven't down anybody.
I've got at least one more social spell in me that I can probably pull out of my ass to,
all right.
to handle the situation.
Yeah. So and yeah, maybe, which is why I was like, at the end of the session, I was like, well, shit, I guess we need to be kind of prepared to level up, maybe, in case we get through this, and then maybe we'll just end up leveling up at the end of this. Because I was thinking, like, well, it's probably been enough sessions now where, and enough adventuring stuff's going on, we can level up everybody again.
Right.
So yeah, it might be
Well, I'll be honest with you. If the giant himself had just shown up and been like, "Fight me, I'm gonna take your shit," that would be one thing. Like that would be like, all right, we're gonna have to fight this giant on what little gas we got left in the tank. Okay, but the fact that you put a hostage situation in the mix makes it, I think, infinitely more interesting.
Yeah,
because now we've got very little gas left in the tank, and we've got to try to like not just actively immediately go hostile because we don't want our goblin to die.
Yeah, I did try to come up with a little bit of a tense situation there.
Yeah. So I
do like fucking with your wagon quite a bit.
That is the more interesting bit of this, is that like we can't just charge this giant, or we could if we don't care about our goblin dying.
Yeah.
But if we just I the impression I'm getting is that if we just are like, fuck you, giant.
Yeah, you're right. That was the idea. Is the idea I had was like, this will be a fun twist where he tells you about this place, thinking he's giving you a good reward or something, but actually he's got his own plan. Right. He's like, okay, they're gonna go in, they're gonna do all this fucking work, they're gonna come out, and I'm gonna be there, and they're gonna be fucking hopefully drained and beat up from everything that involves, and then I can just take all their shit.
Yeah. I got one level 3 spell and one level 1 spell left.
All right.
So I don't know what I can do with that.
That sounds like the end of a dungeon crawl right there. Between these two areas with one adventuring day. But yeah, that's pretty much the end of Jarlmoot. This was basically those 2 sessions. And that's kind of like how a lot of these locations, these kind of open world locations are. Yeah,
they're just like a couple encounters.
Yeah, none of them are very big dungeons, and I mean some of them are, I guess, longer than others, but yeah, and the changes I'm making is scaling them up because they're all designed for like level 5 or 6, and you guys just keep making levels, which definitely was the plan. And again, I mentioned early on that I wanted you guys to reach like the upper tier 3 by the end of this campaign.
Right.
So part of the work I'm having to do, even though I'm using the maps and a lot of the monsters, I'm having to scale everything up. And in this case, I kind of scaled the puzzle up too, because I just wasn't very satisfied with the puzzle as written. But it is a very challenging thing to make a puzzle that is satisfying and not frustrating, and can involve the group together instead of just a couple of them, even though some people are going to enjoy puzzles more than others, or this kind of puzzle more than others.
Yeah.
And yeah, for that reason, I thought it worked pretty well. And I'm glad the pacing worked out where we completed it, and then I got to end it at a nice little cliffhanger at the end.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, puzzles are so fascinating to me, just in how they fit into D&D, and
yeah,
I feel like maybe
it's kind of an escape room design, like those board game escape rooms, where they have like the cryptic puzzle and all that. It's kind of how I think about how good puzzle design should be, because those are like group, projects, and you've got usually multiple things to figure out.
And that's why I feel like maybe if we were D&Ding in person, like at a physical table, our approach to puzzles would be a little bit different, because people could just be like chatting amongst themselves, looking at each other's papers, leaving the room, getting a drink, coming back to the room. Like, it would be sort of that kind of...
It would probably work a lot better. I agree.
Yeah.
That's true. That is true. Anything else about Yarlmoot, since we basically completed this area, except for the bit of a finale at the end? Oh,
I'm excited to see.
Sorry, I can mention the keys.
This
was a cool thing that the dungeon has as written, you get the silver key, which is the correct key early on, and it's almost like hey, your players remember they have that, which Heather did immediately.
Yeah.
The gold key is in there.
She did, but she didn't give a shit about grabbing the gold one.
As written, if you turn the gold key, a portal opens up that takes you back to the arena. And if you step into the portal, you're attacked by swarms of ravens. I was like, all right, well, I don't want to do that. So instead, I'm just going to treat it into a pretty simple trap, where basically you turn the gold key and it melts in your hand. Which and again, unfortunately, I didn't realize I did in this session, which I don't have time to fix it, is, she doesn't give a shit about direct damage like that, so she can just take it.
Yeah.
But if she had just taken the key, it's just a gold key that's worth money.
Oh, okay.
That's another kind of treasure piece.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, she did not remember she had the copper key, which was found when it was one of the items in the chest. It was a copper key.
Oh, yeah, okay.
If you had put that one in there, a bunch of scythes come out, or like blades come out of the walls and hit everybody in the room. Which I was thinking, like, that could be devastating.
It's funny, but is there any actual clue to that? Like, about what key is the right key and which key is the wrong key? Or is it just...
If you guys start rolling investigation and stuff, then maybe I can start giving you hints and things, but it sounded like she was just coming up there jamming keys in there. So I'm like, this is fantastic. And it's funny because it gets to that level, like, all right, we solved the big puzzle, put the key in, open the thing, get the chest.
Yeah.
And I'm counting on that being like, all right, that's going to set off some stuff. So it's like one final little bit of a fuck you trap.
Yeah.
But she remembered the silver key and not the copper key, which worked out really well for you guys, because that copper key is going to fuck you up. So that was the last little thing I'll talk about, because you guys obviously not going back in there. So that was
right.
As you turn the copper key, it's real nasty pants.
We should have taken the rest of the stuff with us. Like, there's a glass orb in there? There's a necklace in there we didn't take?
That's true. I didn't attach any value to that stuff, but the idea was it was to solve that puzzle.
Yeah.
I guess we could say something like, it melts away when you exit, because it's all like magical shit with the ball, which probably would have done. But although I was going to give you the gold key, but instead it melted.
Yep.
All right.
I'm looking at my notes now, and they're just nonsense. The stuff I typed in while we were trying to figure it out, it's just utter nonsense.
Nice. Yeah, I would say, obviously these kind of puzzle sessions vary sparingly. I forgot when the last one was. I think session maybe 30 something. It might have been right around the time of the Shuttle and Dragon. But I've enjoyed them, but I know that they're very hard to design and very used very sparingly. I think would be the key.
They're good. Yeah, they're good things to throw in every once in a while. Yeah, and like like you're gonna get when you throw them at the players too. It's like, okay, they're just gonna it's gonna be one of those sessions, not sessions, but situations where everyone's just focused and just staring at it and trying to figure it out.
It's interesting too when it comes to puzzle design is when you know all the answers, it seems like it's too easy, and then as soon as you turn it over to the players, they start finding wrong avenues that didn't occur to the designer.
What's more dangerous are wrong avenues that by the rules you've laid out are correct.
Yeah.
They've just interpreted the rules incorrectly.
Yeah.
But it's a valid interpretation. It's like, oh no, that's not. It's not the right way to go, but I can see how you could get there.
Yep, and that becomes real nervous for the DM. But thankfully, you guys really did this one very well. You were always on the ball. Only very rarely did you guys even start to stray, but then you went right back to the right path. And I think it was just constantly making progress, which is a sign of a good puzzle. So shout out to Paul Camp for designing a really good rune puzzle, and it just ended up fitting really well into this dungeon. So I would certainly recommend it from my point of view, but know your players, know if they're going to enjoy that kind of thing. You know, that it, and like Chris was saying, your head down, like literally writing out things.
Yeah.
From that point of view.
Yeah. And be ready for that.
I'll also say, I think it worked out well that it followed a really big, long fight between last session and even the first part of this session. So it's not like you just did a bunch of exploration. Everybody's kind of like, okay, now you did this big puzzle, you check out. We just did like a bunch of fighting. So, you know, everybody's got their stuff.
Yep.
And then cool loot.
Yep. Which, by the way, I did. I mentioned this in between the sessions, but I did use that. I bought the same. Was Paul Camp? Is that the name?
Yeah.
I bought it as well for the last campaign, War for the Lost Plane. I didn't actually use the puzzles. I just used the runes,
the art pieces. Yeah.
The art pieces as part of a puzzle in that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah. So puzzle stuff, I think it's fun, but you know, even if your group likes puzzles, I would still probably do it pretty sparingly. All right, I think that will do it for this week's Frostside chat. Thank you.
Will we save Blista next time?
Oh, will you? Yeah, that's the question. Everybody, fans want to know.
We'll try. I think we care enough about her.
If I made commercial promos, that would be, will they save Ballista? Find out next week. But thank you to Chris and Raymond, and thank you to all of the wonderful fans for watching, and we will see you next week.
Later.
Wait, I don't play the music at the end. No music for you all. You already heard the music.
It's too late for music.
It's too late for music. It's far too late.